I'm going to use this slide to quickly explain to you, the opportunities that there are in digital pattern making. All right. So I got a license some years ago. I got a license from Optitex, and this was when I got this license. It was in Naira conversion, it was 1.3 million to get that license. And I'm telling people that, wow, this time around there are other options where we can actually get software as a service, subscription as a service, platform as a service. So I'm going to use this just to explain to you the opportunities that there are in the digital pattern making world. All right, I'm licensed in Optitex. I'm going to share with you some of their slides and what they do. All right, so they have what we call the 2D and 3D CAD solutions, and CAD just means computer aided design. All right, so when we talk about digital pattern making, I decided to call it digital pattern making. Why? Because it's not just, a lot of people use the word CAD, but when we try to streamline it, it's so much more than that. We're talking about being able to, create, being able to modify, being able to adapt, being able to print out our patterns and be able to store for the use. And not only that, even for manufacture, it's so useful in so many things. And you can see that there's so many uses. I'm just going to rush through. As you can see, there's so many uses you can use in apparel. Most of the time, because we are in apparel, we tend to use it for apparel. But you can use it for transportation, aeronautics, automotive, furniture, composites, industrial fabrics, education. There's so many uses for it. But we're just going to focus on the things that concern us. So we're talking about pattern design systems, which provide a full range of high-end pattern design and textile software. So we're talking about pattern design itself and even the textile production of it. Both of them go hand in hand together. Digitizing has to do with, interactive digitizing software that allows you to see your patterns on the screen while being digitized. That means that while you are transforming, you can transform, hard copy patterns into digital patterns by using what we call a digitizer. All of these come with all the solutions that they provide. Grading, where you can actually create multiple sizes, okay? From just one base size, you can create multiple sizes. I'm going to show it to you and how we're going to go about that, all right? Marker is used in plotting, like placing all those patterns in a way that it utilizes the smallest amount of fabric, all right? That's the marker. Then we have the modulate, where you have the made-to-measure software developed to design and manufacture your own sewn products. So I'm going to rush through this very quickly to show you all the options. Now, I'm going to rush through to show you some of the things that also come with this package. Now, even though I'm licensed with Optitex, there are other programs that we're going to work on. Now, I can categorically divide this course into majorly two parts. So we have what we call the done for you packages, and we have the do-it-yourself packages. Now, when we say the done for you packages, is all you just have to do is impute your measurements, and we're going to start out with that. You're going to see that live and direct, okay? And then we're going to do that right here and now. But in your portal, you have a link to download the free trial software so that you can use that to practice and see what you can do with it, all right? So you have what we have the 2D pattern where you actually draft out flat patterns. All right, so we'll definitely be looking at like 3 different softwares in the process of this course, right? We're starting out with one, which is our done for you, and we're going to look at 2 others that we can actually subscribe to as a platform or as software that we can use on a monthly basis. So apart from the flat pattern, we have what we call the 3D visualization of garments. That means that not only can you create the patterns, you can wear them on your avatar, and we're going to see how you can create an avatar. So what are the areas of application? We have 3D developing and 3D sampling. So that means that you don't even necessarily have to create physical samples. You can create digital samples that people can use for their programs, and you can sample them digitally also. We have 3D made to measure, and I'm going to use that example for us today, which is the MyLabel software from Benina. Benina is also like a subdivision of Optitex, okay? Because they use that program to create that. Right? We're going to look at that today. So we can use 3D to present collections and colorways. You can have what we call a virtual runway. You don't necessarily have to organize a full-blown runway. Sure, you don't need to. You can just have these 3D samples and people can watch them virtually. You can use that as a communication tool. You can use that as flattening. You can use that for animation. You can use it in games. I'm telling you, there's so much use. So we're just going to rush through this. All right, you can see that this example is the 3D developing and the 3D sampling. As you can see here, these are the pattern pieces. So from the pattern pieces, which are flat, you can now take this and animate it, and you're going to like work it out on the pattern. It's going to You're going to bring it out to life on the model. Now that model is actually carrying your own measurements. 3D made to measure, you can choose your own made to measure outfits and then model them on your avatar. All right. So we also, you can see this as an example where we have, the made to measure sample, which is the My Label Bernina. So these are collections and colorways in 3D. You can come up with all manner of runway designs that can be displayed, in a variety of colors and fabrics, buttons, and all manner of things on mannequins. All right. So you can use it as a communication tool. This is 3D flattening, where you can actually draw directly on the 3D mannequin, okay, to produce 2D patterns by the click of a mouse. Look at it more. Can you see this pattern here? Is also flattening. You can see this puppy that is created here, and all the pieces, all the pattern pieces that have to be cut out. All you just have to do is that this particular model, you just draw on it, come up with all the pattern pieces, and that's it. Voila, that's your dog. Can you see that? Very awesome, very awesome. All right, so animation, told you that about that. You can create animation, walking cartoons and all of that, even with this software. So these are just some of the uses. I'm just rushing through it because I don't want to make this class a long one, all right? So these are the several uses of what you can see that you can create a 3D on the internet as a web shop where people can actually just, pick and choose these clothes and then it shows up on the model. I mean, can you see how beautiful this is? It's awesome. It is awesome. All right. Good. So these are just examples of pattern variations. I'm just rushing through so you can see what the world of digital pattern making can give you. Okay. You can see even for lingerie, so many uses, so many uses, so many uses. Okay.
In this course, we shall be using the Bernina My Label pattern design software platform to learn how to generate and design our patterns. We will also be learning how to correlate and fit our design patterns on our 3D model. So let's get straight to work. The first thing we're going to do is to learn about the interface. That's the software interface that we're using for our 3D pattern design software course here. The first side of this interface is called the Studio Box, where you can see the section of the interface has 5 drawers. We have the model drawer. You can see it's already defaultly opened with one of the models already displayed, the default model that comes with the package already displayed here. This is the default model, but you can always generate other models that you would get after you have imputed your measurements to derive those models. The second drawer is the styles drawer. Here we have different kinds of designs that you can generate using the pattern software. The next drawer here is the fabric drawer. In this fabric drawer, you can see we have many patterns of fabrics that we can use to design our pattern. Underneath that, we have the stitches drawer, where we can select whichever stitches we'd like to use to design our pattern. Beneath that, we have the embroidery drawer, and we have different embroideries that we can use on our pattern to design it. And the final drawer is the button drawer, where you have a gallery of buttons that you can use to design your 3D pattern. So let's go straight and start with the model drawer. In the model drawer, we have our default model. And this model is actually, this 3D model is an avatar of yourself or of your client's measurements. It's meant to reflect who you are, your body shape, your size, your measurements. So the first thing we're going to do is to launch the model. So just click on it. And it launches it in the model view box here. Let's start with our model. Now you can see that this is your model, the default model. But we will now create your avatar. That means your shape, how you want it to look like, either your shape or your client's shape, by imputing measurements. And once we impute the measurements, it will begin to update itself. In the model properties here, we are going to start imputing our measurements, but there's already the default measurements here. We have the default height, measured in inches, We have the default size of underbust. Let's now go into other measurements. We've talked about the height. You can talk about the height in detail. You can look at different kind of height. We have the cervical height. Now, if I click on this cervical height and I want to know how to measure it, it shows me that it's showing me where to take the measurements from. But if I really want to get the instructions on how to take this measurement, I click on the instructions tab here and it shows me how to take the measurements. So clicking on any of all these measurements shows me how to measure it. Okay, so I'd like to check on the girths. The girths are actually the widths that are measured horizontally. It's another name for width. Okay, beautiful. So now I'm going to change some very vital measurements. So let's change the bust, let's change the waist, and let's change the hips. Okay, I'd like to make it bigger so we can see how our model changes in size. Okay, so when I click on that, the hips, the bust get bigger, but I could just decide to change it directly, and let's make it 40. Okay, so I've made it 40. Can you see what's happening here? You can see that the bust gets bigger. So you can see right here that our model has been changed. The bust has increased. Let's increase the waist and the hips. So let me change the waist to, let's change it to 29. Let's see what it looks like. You can see that the waist has gotten a bit bigger. Let's make it obviously bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's make the waist 33, for instance. Let's see how 33 would look like on our model. You can see that the waist has changed. It's based on the measurements we are imputing. Let's change the hips also. Let's change the hips to 44. And let's see what happens to the hips here. Wow. Now you can see that the 3D model changes based on the measurements you impute. And that's why it's called a 3D pattern design software, because we're working with the 3D model and we're also going to work with our 3D designs. Now for this project, we're going to be making a skirt and a waistcoat for our Susan model. So I'll go into my styles drawer, click here. It brings up the designs. So you have jackets, skirts, dresses, and the like. So I'm going to click on skirts. Because I want to make a simple skirt, a basic skirt, I click on the basic skirt. Clicking on that icon brings the skirt onto the work table. Now these white pieces are the fabric pieces. They represent the fabric pieces, while the blue pieces here are the lining pieces. Here, this button here that looks like a play button is called the simulate button. And this helps us to, dress our model. And that's where the magic happens. And you're going to see it live and direct. We're going to be dressing our 3D model. Beautiful. The next thing is that we'd like to wear the skirt on our model. So for me to wear the skirt on the model, what do? I go straight over to the simulate button, and that's where the magic happens. Get ready, go. You can see it's already wearing it on our model. Beautiful. Now the progress bar shows you that it is wearing it. It's not yet complete. So we need to wait for a couple of seconds for it to complete its action. Wow, interesting. Pretty. Now we can check this out. You can decide to auto rotate your model. You can just click on the auto rotate to check. You can see we only put the patterns on the front. So I can stop her from auto rotating. I can now zoom her in and out, and let's take a good look at the embroidery at the base of our skirt. Lovely. Let's get our model back.
The first thing I want to show you is that this also comes with preloaded blocks. That means that even if you don't want to use it to design from scratch, if you don't want to, draft your patterns from scratch, you can actually just go and load the patterns and use. All right, so let's just go to File. As you can see on this top, you have a lot of icons. You will get more details in the lessons. But let me click on File and then Open. So that opens, it opens the tab. Normally, it will open up directly. When you download it, it opens up in TukaCAD. So let me just scroll down to TukaCAD. It opens TukaData default. So you can see it has basic blocks and all of this good stuff. So let's just open basic blocks. We have children, we have men, we have women, we have children. So let me open children. We have dress, we have jackets, we have all of these. Let's just click on jackets. So, and it brings up the design on the work table. As you can see, this is it. And you can save this and print it out. So it's already created. It already has blocks created for you. If you want it done for you, these are blocks you can use directly and print out. Okay, let's just go back. The basic blocks. Let's look at men's. Okay, let's look at shirts. Let's see raglan shirt. I want to see what that looks like. So you can see it has all of these designs. You can increase the number of sizes. This is just one size. You see it already has the seams around everything. All you just have to do, you can actually work on the, the measurements. And I'm going to give you a quick demo of how to use this. I want to make sure that this class is quick and short so that we can get back to our activities. Okay, let me just check this one. All right, all the design parts here. You just have to come and just change the measurements. You can see when you click on the piece, it brings out all the documentation, all the details about the piece, okay? So I think that's a good demo of the fact that it has preloaded blocks that you can use, which is somewhat similar to the Bernina My Label, okay? So if you don't want to do anything, you have blocks here to work on. Great. Let me click on File, and then to create a new project completely from scratch, you click on New. All right. So when you click on New, it opens. Of course, I don't want to save this, so I'm going to open it now. Look at it. It brings out, a box, a dialog box here, where you can name your pattern. You want to create a flare? I'm going to show you how to quickly do that. All right. Something quick and easy that you can actually use for this quick demo. So I'm going to put in equal measurements here and here to create the quadrant. So let me start by showing you how to, create that. So now this tool here called Add Point, I'll click on that, and then I would come here, click on the top, and then this is where it gets a little bit technical, but just understand it. It will ask you, where do you want to take the reference from to measure? So this is the reference point, right? So because this is the point where we're taking the reference from, and all measurements are taken clockwise. That's from left to right. So I'm going to take reference from here. So that is noted as previous point, while this next one here is noted as next. Okay, so just you'll understand after a while, after you do it a couple of times, it just sticks. So at this point, I'm taking the reference point from this point. I'm going to put my measurement here. So let me just say I want to make it 4 instead of 5. I want to make my radius 4. All right. So I'll click on OK. So that gives me a point there, as you can see. All right. Now I want to make this length. Maybe I want to make it 7. So I'm going to click on this. But don't forget, this is going to take reference from this point here. All right. So when I click on it again, it's asking me, what's the measurement that you want to use? I'm going to add this 4 plus 7. All right, 4 plus 7 gives me 11. So I'm going to put 11 here. All right, that's what I'm going to put here, 11, and then click on OK. So all I just have to do is replicate the same on this side, and I'm going to draw my curves, and you'll see how we can make a lovely looking curve in just a bit. So I'm going to measure this place also, 4, and then I'm going to put my 4, but don't forget,
The next thing that, let me cancel that so that you understand. So when I click on this line here, it's asking me where do I want to put the point? Where is the reference point? This is the point, which is the next point, okay? And all I want it to be is 4. So instead of putting it in previous, I put it in next. I guess that makes sense, right? Because it's just 4 inches from this next point. I click on OK. One more point and we're almost done. And let me zoom in a bit. All right, so there is what we call the select tool. You definitely go through all of these step by step. So let me go back to my add point and do my last point here. So let me put a point here. Can you see that? So what exactly again are we going to put? Remember we put 11 here. So that's going to be 11 on this side. So see, it's going to take, it's, it's going to take a reference from this point, which is next. So I'm going to put 11 there, 11, 11 in next. Good. Now, so then you click on OK. Can you see the 4 points? Can you see the, give me some feedback in the house. Can you see the 4 points that I just created? Can we see the 4 points I just created? Anytime you want to go to select tool, just right click and then you change it. Can you see the 4 points? Is it clear? So now we have 4 points. Now, how do we connect this? So I'm going to go to the draft tool, as you can see here. Click on it. Now, this thing that looks like a pencil, or like someone says it looks like ice cream. So you click on that, and then you make sure that you highlight. Let me just zoom in a little bit, just slightly, so that we can see what we're doing. Let me just change back to my select tool and zoom out a little bit. I want to zoom out a little bit so that we can see everything very well. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my draft tool and then I will come to this first point. You can see that as I come close, as I hover over it, it shows red. So I click on that and then I come here, click on OK, and I just connect to this next part here. Now, when I connect, don't forget that point has to what? Highlight. So I click on that and I say OK. Now, of course, you can see that I'll have to stop this operation, right? So all I have to do is right click and it stops it. Now, you can see this is a straight line, but what I want is a curve. What I want is a curve. So because I want a curve, I'm going to go to another tool called Move Point. So I click on that Move Point tool, but before I use it, what am I going to do? I'm going to click on the Shift key. Now, don't feel this is a lot. This is just something you can do step by step, right? So I'm going to click on the Shift key, and then now click on it. Make sure that you're holding down the Shift key continuously. The Shift key, make sure you hold it down, and then I click on that. And in that case, you can see now I can now make my curve. Can you see how awesome this is? I can make my curve now. Just try and get your curve looking good. Okay. When you get your curve, you can lift your Shift key and that's it. All right. So you can actually smoothen it. I'm going to come here, do this side. I've gone back to hold my Shift key. I will arrange this slightly more. Okay. Let's see. And then if I want to make this place look much better, hold my Shift key, come to this side, and just move it in gently. All right. I'm going to cancel this one. I want to click on my Shift key, come here, and I'll just move it gently. You can see that. And then you can say, oh no, let me undo that. Now, I'm just showing you this manually so that you can at least see that this, you can always create circles easily, but I just want to show you how this works. Okay, so now you can see we have a nice curve. Now, we just replicate the same thing. Go back to your draft tool, okay, and then connect this dot. Say yes with the other dot. Make sure you highlight it. Say yes. And then you end this particular operation with the right key. And you click on no. So the same thing I'm going to do, come back here and click on Move Point. And I'll start from the center. Don't forget to hold your Shift key. And then I click on that. I can bring this here. All right. So this will help me. I can actually create a curve, a nice looking curve with this. Release the Shift key and tap on that. You can see it says okay. If I want to make a fine tuning, go back to my Shift key, click on this side, and I've gotten that looking good. All right. Can you see that? One more here. Hold Shift key, click on this, And you have your lovely looking flare already. Can you see how awesome this is? Now, right now we have created the pattern, okay? But now I want to separate this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to a piece called build piece, okay? And then I come here, click on this, and it is selected it, and I just come here and right click. Good. And I can separate this. I'm going to turn this into my select tool, and then I can separate this pattern. All right. Can you see that? You can separate the pattern. Okay. Great. So now saving, how to save all of this to create other patterns. We are going to show you. You'll look at that step by step inside the online classes.